Welcome at Pizza and More. Last winter, so 11 months ago, or maybe a bit longer, my colleagues asked me if it's possible to tell them my kind of pizza dough I make, if I'm able to share the recipe with them. I thought, well, before I write everything down and before I explain him everything what I do, I will show him online over a video connection how I make my pizza dough. On the other side was not only one colleague, on the other side there were 4 colleagues. I showed them everything. We made a nice pizza class. It was funny. We had lots of fun. On the second day we ate our pizza. It was great. We had a nice glass of wine together. It was really lots of fun. They spoke to other colleagues and suddenly a huge amount of people came to me and said, hey, we also want to have a pizza class with you. Are you able to share it with us as well? I did it, and I had there around 20 pizza classes. And my colleagues then told me, or they said, I should go to a special evening school and tell people how to make pizza, or even to make a YouTube channel to show the world how to make a nice pizza. And now, after this short while, I really have to say a big thank you. We reached now the 1,000 subscribers. I'm totally happy. I'm Jürgen and I show you today my really absolutely most preferred pizza dough. This is exactly this pizza dough what I normally make when I have friends here, for my family, or for all these people who are visiting me and it is pizza time. The same dough is also used when I make all these different pizza variants, like we already had, like the Diavola or the Quattro Formaggi or so, or the Margherita. All these pizzas were made from this kind of dough. It is a dough which is made 50% by Biga. So you know, Biga is a kind of pre-dough, and as I said, 50% is Biga, and then the other 50% is then the main dough. For the Biga, I mix 2 different strong flours with a high baking strength. The reason why I use 2 flours is pretty easy. These are my most preferred strong flours, and I can't decide which of those 2 I should use. Okay, I could use one time this one and the other time this one, but I thought let's mix both together, and so that's the reason why I have always these 2 strong baking flours for my pre-dough, so for the Biga. This flour is from type 00. One has 13.5% of protein. No, this is not correct. One has 13% of protein and the other one has 14% of protein. And the Biga can then rest in the fridge for 24 to 48 hours. It depends. If it's only 36 hours, this is also okay. There is a very long time period you can use this Biga. The longer it ferments, so let's say up to 48 hours, the better the taste afterwards will be. For the refreshing then, for the main dough, I also use 2 different kind of flour. One is the type 0, the other one is a type 00. Also both flours, I really like them. This is from a medium baking strength. I like both flours, and that's also the same reason I mix both together to have, one is for a very fluffy and for a very airy crust, and the other one has also a very nice taste, and that's the reason why I use this. I use for the main dough then flour with not that high baking strength. The reason is because the main dough itself has only 24 hours of leavening time, and the pre-dough together with the main dough up to 72 hours. That's the reason why I have here for the pre-dough flour which is not that strong, and which is strong, and for the main dough, then a flour which is not that strong. And why I'm using a Biga and not a Polish or not a direct dough, it's pretty easy. Biga, I really like the taste of Biga. I think it has the best taste from these different versions of pizza dough. I prefer it. Tastes are different, so maybe you may prefer a different one, but I like this one, especially with 50% Biga. And the next thing is that dough afterwards is very elastic. It makes really fun to work with this. Fun, this was the next thing, the next reason why I make this kind of dough, because I have fun with creating Biga, and fun, as you know, is one of the most important ingredients for a good pizza dough. Normally I make my Biga or my dough then, my preferred dough, with a hydration of 65%. This dough works also with a hydration of 70 or 75%. Of course, this works as well. I also tried 70, I tried already 75%. This works perfect. I'm able to do it even if the dough is a bit weaker afterwards, but it works. However, if I have guests, if I have my family here and I want to bake pizza for them, I normally make 65% because the difference from 65 to 70 I think is not that high from a taste perspective, or from an airy perspective. I think it's almost the same, but with 65% hydration, the dough is more stable and you don't have the danger to damage the pizza or to make an unwanted calzone, and you have most of the times a clean oven and a clean stone because you have no damages. And normally I bake then my preferred dough with 65% hydration with 450 degrees Celsius. So the higher the hydration, the lower the temperature. So if you have 62%, for example, then you can bake with 480 degrees. If you have 70% hydration, then with 420 degrees, or 75% hydration, then only with 380 degrees. The reason is the more water is in a dough, the longer it takes, so the lower the temperature should be, that the water can evaporate and we have afterwards a nice and ready, well done crust and dough. This kind of Biga we make today is a so-called Biga no stress, which means we do no kneading with that dough or with that Biga. We only put the ingredients into a box, we shake the box until we have our Biga. Or we can use then afterwards the spatula to turn it and to flip it around until we have the Biga like we want. This version of Biga, I saw at first this version of Biga from Neapolitan pizzaiolo. He is Roberto Susta. I think he founded this version of Biga, so the Biga no stress. And now I would say we make exactly this kind of Biga and we look on the ingredients. To the ingredients, the whole recipe and the whole procedure is in each other video as well in the video description. And here are now our ingredients, what we need for the Biga. This is here 260 grams of flour. I have here type 00. It's a strong flour. I have here then 130 grams of cold water. It's not necessary to have it out of the fridge. Out of the tap is also okay because we are not kneading the dough, so it is absolutely enough. It's a normal cold water. And here I have 0.7 grams of yeast, dry yeast. If you want to use fresh yeast, then use 2.1 or even 2 grams. The first we do is we add our yeast into the water and we dissolve the yeast in the water. Normally we add dry yeast directly to the flour, but if we would add now the yeast directly to the flour, because we are not kneading, there might be the danger that the yeast afterwards is not distributed or dissolved nicely in the flour, and that's the reason why I dissolve this dry yeast now directly into water. The next we use a box like this, so this is a normal dough ball box, and we put our flour into the box, and then we take our water with yeast and pour the water with yeast into the box. And as next, we start shaking the box. You can put the lid onto the box so that the flour doesn't come out. I let the lid now off because I want to show what I do. You can see I only shake this box. And I shake this box until we have only small pieces, but most of the flour is absorbed. And then after most of the flour is absorbed, then we use the spatula and we release all the dough which sticks to the box. And then we release also everything from the bottom of the box. And as I said, we flip with the spatula everything around until the rest of the flour is absorbed. And as soon most of the flour is integrated, we take a box and we fill the Biga into this box. And then, as always, also here it's important to close the lid, but the lid shouldn't be 100% sealed. If you have here, like mine, holes, then you let it a little bit open, or if this is not the case, then don't close it totally. If we have then the Biga in this box and the lid is closed, we let it rest at room temperature for 1 to 2 hours, and then, as already said, we put the Biga into the fridge for around 24 to 48 hours. My Biga was now for around 24 hours in the fridge. As I said, there is also no problem if you let the Biga for 48 hours in the fridge, but from a timings perspective, it is now the ideal for me to take it out and to make the main dough. For our main dough we have the following ingredients. I have here again 260 grams of flour, so this is 50 grams of the total flour. That's the reason why it's a 50% Biga. This is now flour with a medium baking strength. It has 12 to 13% protein, and as I already said, I mixed up here two different kinds of flour. One is a type 0 and the other one is a type 00 flour. Then I have here 200 grams of very cold water, so this is now a water which comes out of the fridge. Then I have here 15 grams of fine sea salt, and again 0.5 grams of dry yeast, and I have here the total amount of Biga. And you can see the Biga is very strong already, and it makes no fun to knead now the dough by hand, so I strongly recommend to have a dough machine. The best is a spiral kneader. And as I said, the first we add now into the mixer is our Biga. We can add the Biga in one piece, and as next we can add directly the whole amount of flour, our dry yeast, and round about 50% of the water. And then we start the mixer on the lowest speed until everything is incorporated. And then after a short while when everything is together, or everything is good mixed, we can add our salt. And then we start also adding the rest of the water, but only in very little steps. And now we wait until this water is totally taken over from the dough, and then we add the next little portion of water. And now I think I can add the last portion of water. And when this is now taken over from the dough, then I increase the kneading speed, and I think the total kneading time will be around 20 minutes. And I knead until I'm able to make the window test. And now after 20 minutes I think my dough is ready. The sound of the dough was like it is ready. Now I make wet fingers, or you can also use olive oil, and then I try to make the window test. For the window test you should remove a small piece of dough out of the bowl. Then we make a ball, and then we try to stretch this dough, and I feel it already. It's possible to stretch this dough fantastically, and this dough is ready to be taken out of the machine and to put onto the counter. If you have then the dough here on the counter, it's time to make a nice dough ball. For making this, you lift the dough, put it back onto the counter, stretch it and fold it over. If the dough is actually a bit sticky, you will see after a few times making this exercise, which is called stretch and fold, it will stop immediately sticking. If the surface of the dough is already nice and soft and strong, then we can turn our dough ball and we can pull our dough ball with the fingers under, and then we pull it, we don't roll it, and then again and again, and then you can see it stops sticking, and again. And you can also use such a dough card, go always under and turn the dough ball. And if this dough ball is already nice, we take the dough and put it into the box and we close the lid. And now we let the dough rest at room temperature for 1 to 2 hours, and then we put the dough into the fridge for around 12 hours, and then we make our dough balls. My dough had now a leavening time of around 12 hours, and now we make our pizza balls. These 12 hours are not set in stone. This is, I want to emphasize this because you have here a big time frame where you can make your pizza balls. When you knead your dough and then you wait 30 minutes so until the dough is relaxed again, then you can directly create your pizza balls, or you do it after 2 hours, after 10 hours. You have here really, you are very flexible. The only thing which is important, that you make your pizza balls minimum 8 to 6 hours before you bake the pizza. Because this is important, that the pizza ball we create is able to relax, so that we are afterwards able to stretch the pizza properly. Otherwise, stretching of the pizza will be a nightmare. I can promise you this. One word before we make now our pizza balls to the cheese. If you use mozzarella, which is in this salty water, then please take the mozzarella out of this water, cut it into slices, or maybe cut it into sticks, put it into a sieve and let it drain minimum for 12, better for 24 hours. Or maybe you directly use a dry mozzarella. This is also available, but I would not recommend to use already a grated mozzarella, which is also available in the supermarkets, because this grated mozzarella is full of starch. They need the starch, otherwise all these cheese pieces would stick to each other, and so with the starch they avoid sticking to each other. but we want to have cheese on our pizza and not really starch. But however, you can make whatever you want. This is only my recommendation, and now we start with the pizza balls. Here is our dough now already on my counter, and now we make 3 pieces. Each piece will have around 280 to 290 grams. Each of my dough balls has now 290 grams. And now we shape our dough balls. We try to keep this side, which was during the leavening on top, we try to leave it on top. And then we take the dough. If we have here air bubbles, we open them. And then we stretch the dough from the top to the bottom. And we push all the dough inside of the dough ball. And then we see we get here a very strong and very nice surface. The bottom needs to be closed, so we press the fingers to each other so that the dough ball is closed at the bottom. And then we put it back into the dough ball box. The other method we have is we do the same stretch and fold even with the small dough ball like we did with the big one. We fold it several times. If we have again air bubbles, we open them as well. And then we turn this little dough ball and we pull it and we turn it, and always with the fingers under, and don't roll. We try to keep the side which is on top always on top. And then we have to double check as well the bottom, if the bottom is nicely closed. If yes, okay. If not, we close it. And then also this dough ball is ready for the box. And the last method is we put the dough onto the counter and then we roll it and we go always with the fingers under and then we have a nice and strong surface. We have to double check if the bottom is also nice closed, and then it comes back into the dough ball box. And here are now the 3 dough balls in the box. And now it's very important to close again the box. So we put the lid back onto the box and then we put the box back into the fridge. We let it then in the fridge until around 4 hours before baking, and then we take it out of the fridge and we let it rest for additional round about 4 hours at room temperature. 4 hours ago I took my dough out of the fridge, and the last 4 hours the dough was at room temperature. Now the dough balls rose fantastically. They have a nice size, they have a fantastic elasticity, exactly what we need. And now I would say we make the pizza. All toppings I need for the pizza are already prepared. I have here my tomato sauce, the original Neapolitan one, made only with San Marzano tomatoes and salt. How I make this San Marzano or this tomato sauce and everything around the tomato, I made a video, and the video is linked in the video description. I have here then some cheese. I have mozzarella fior di latte, I have olive oil, fresh basil, Parmesan cheese and semolina. To take the dough balls out, or to take the dough ball out, it's now important that we take some semolina and put it over the dough ball we want to take out, and everywhere where the dough ball is attached to either another dough ball or to the box. I already made a video how to take out the dough properly and how to stretch a dough. So I won't say too many things right now. Please have a look on this video if you are interested. It's also linked in the video description. But it's important to take the dough out without stressing it. So you saw I put some semolina under the dough ball as well with the spatula, and then I lifted the dough ball out. And it's now important to close the box again to protect the remaining dough balls from drying out. This dough ball here will be flipped around in the semolina, and then I take it out of the semolina. I have a look that the shape is round, and then I start pressing from the center towards the crust, and I press all the air into the crust. When then the dough is stretched properly, we take our tomato sauce. As next, fresh grated Parmesan cheese. Then some leaves of fresh basil. Then our mozzarella fior di latte. Some olive oil. And now the pizza is ready for the oven. To launch it, it's the best to take the peel, put some semolina onto the peel, lift the dough and push the peel under, and then as soon the pizza is on the peel, we make the pizza to its final size. And now is the pizza ready for the oven. And here comes now the pizza margherita made from my favorite dough out of the oven. For decoration we add now some leaves of fresh basil and some olive oil. And the pizza margherita is ready. And now we will have a look if there is enough air in the dough. And you can see it's full of air pockets. It's soft and the dough is crunchy. It's fantastic. And now I will taste it. If it's really that delicious as I said. And as I said, really it's so delicious. The different toppings have a fantastic taste. The dough is great and nice. And now I will have a bite into the crust. And I haven't promised too much. This is really the taste what I expect from a 50% Biga. It's soft, it's cross on the outside. It's very delicious. It has lots of flavor. It's a fantastic crust, a fantastic dough. If you have guests and some people don't like normally the crust and let the crust on their plates, I promise you, when you make such a dough with such a crust, exactly these people will eat also the crust. If you like my video, it would be fantastic if you would subscribe my channel. And then we see us also in the next video. Ciao.